Hi everyone, in this video we are going to continue our analysis of the characteristics of stars diagram in our Earth Science reference table. Specifically, we are going to be looking at luminosity and size. So if we revisit the characteristics of stars chart, in this video we're going to be focused in on the luminosity axis, which can be found on the left side of the chart, on the side, going up and down. On our diagram, it says luminosity is the rate at which a star emits energy relative to the sun. In other words, luminosity is a measure of how bright a star is. How bright a star is compared to our sun. So, a high value for luminosity means the star is very bright. A low value for luminosity, maybe if it's a decimal like you see here at the bottom of the diagram, these values mean a star is dimmer or not as bright as our sun. So I want to look here, when we look at the luminosity axis, we're going to look and find 1. As we go across and look at the values for 1, we see that our sun, the sun in our solar system, has a luminosity of 1. As we go up the chart, up the diagram, the values get bigger. 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, all the way up to 1 million. Any star that's higher than 1, that has a luminosity higher than 1, is brighter than the sun. So for example, if we find the star here, Rigel, it is higher up on the chart than the sun. Rigel is more luminous or brighter than the sun. If we are at 1 and we were to go down and look at the decimals, 0.1, 0.01, these stars are dimmer than the sun. They're not as bright as the sun. So for example, Barnard star is down here. It's lower than the sun, so it is dimmer than the sun. The sun is brighter than Barnard star. Again, the most luminous stars are towards the top of the chart, and the stars with the lowest luminosity, the dimmest stars, dim means not very bright. If you turn the lights down, you're dimming the lights. The dimmest stars are towards the bottom. When we look at this diagram, the star has the highest luminosity on this diagram is the star that's highest up on the chart. So if we look across here, across the very top of the chart, we could see that Deneb is the most luminous star on this chart. Then we can work our way down. It looks like Rigel is a little bit lower than Deneb. That's the second brightest star. And Betelgeuse comes in. It kind of looks like they might have a pretty similar luminosity. The dimmest star on this diagram is the star that's closest to the bottom. So if we look closely, we might see Pricom B down here, all the way at the bottom. This star is the dimmest star on the chart, the least bright star on our diagram. Now, the luminosity of a star, how bright it is directly related to how big the star is. So the other characteristic of a star that we can see on this diagram is the size. And this is directly related to how luminous the star is. So, as we just said, the higher up on the diagram the star is, the more luminous it is, and it's more luminous because it's bigger. So if we look on the right side of our diagram here, we could see this arrow. The arrow is pointing up, and it tells us that near the bottom are the small stars, and as we move up, the stars get bigger and bigger and bigger, and all the way towards the top are the biggest stars, or in this case we call them the most massive stars. So up near the top are the biggest stars, and near the bottom are the smallest stars. And this is the property of size. We call this size when we're talking about this property of the stars. So if we want to compare the size of two stars, let's go ahead and compare the size of Polaris to the size of Sirius. The first thing you want to do is decide which star is higher up on the chart. In this case, our star Polaris is higher up on the chart. Because Polaris is higher up on the chart, Polaris is bigger than Sirius. Polaris is also more luminous than Sirius because it's higher up on the diagram.